course, the selfie. You need that, right? Now, thank you for watching the Weather Network. We have heat warnings in place, and to southern Ontario, no heat warnings are in place, but today is the peak of some of the heat. You can see the warnings for Kenora, Pickle Lake, and over to the city of Winnipeg. The city of Winnipeg feeling like 40 degrees. It is a scorcher of a day. Now, we are seeing some moisture moving throughout just over Superior, but in terms of the rainfall down through the south, we're really not seeing any just yet. Let me take you into Quebec, though. The Chateau Frontenac, a close eye just up and down the St. Lawrence for the potential of some thunderstorms. Earlier, these cells were warned. Now they continue to just fizzle out as they track further towards New Brunswick. But the potential for thunderstorms, it is widespread today. Look at this. Down throughout southwestern Ontario, through the GTA, past the Ottawa Valley, and all the way into Quebec. This is where the skies can look very changeable in through the afternoon. As of right now, we don't have any watches or warnings in place. Now, as we look at the potential radar here, notice how all of this starts to come up. So this is sort of a future forecast. Lots of convective action just sort of bubbling up. Hit and miss storms. So, for example, someone in Ottawa may see some thunderstorms where Toronto stays bone dry. So the potential to be a miss is there, but also to really see those thunderstorms. Very up in the air kind of forecast. We have the right ingredients, but is this frontal boundary enough to really set off some of the storms? That's the question. Now into Thursday afternoon, we're still feeling the humidity up and down the St. Lawrence, but it's a lot less than what we'll see today. Thanks for capturing that scene. Now, where we are still finding the heat, that's in through the Maritimes. Look at Moncton, for example, feeling like 33. This is into this afternoon. And then St. John's, 14. Feeling like 11. Yeah, those winds were pretty strong this morning. Tapering off now into the afternoon, but tomorrow your temperatures will be back up to 20. Now, I want to check in with Deb. She's in Calgary. And we do have a thunderstorm risk today throughout the Interlake region. And Deb, I want to remind you that September 8th of last year, that's when Calgary saw snow-timber. Now, we'll have more details on the west just ahead. And we're also seeing that cap as well throughout the Interlake region of Manitoba. We'll have more on that forecast just ahead. But look at this. These are some of the rainfall totals in through the BC South Coast. We wanted the rain, but we didn't want those winds, those damaging winds. Here's a story from Langley. All right, what a great story there. Community really coming together. It was a wild windstorm. If you haven't heard, of course, this happened on the weekend. Places like Stanley Park were closed. The subway was shut down. The PNE had to close just temporarily as well. Now, as we look at this big system that we've seen in through the BC South Coast, a much needed change. Today, we're seeing those light showers continuing on. And today is really going to be the last day that Vancouver's going to collect about 10 to 15 millimeters of rain. We'll continue to see this low push to the south. And then that's going to put the BC South Coast back under a ridge of high pressure and drier conditions. Now, today, the thunderstorm potential is there as well. So watching out for, yes, breezy conditions and very heavy downpours along Vancouver Island. Squamish is also included in this as well. And then as we look at that thunderstorm risk just a little further to the east, like I said before, that cap that's in place that Jacqueline was explaining, we are seeing that here. So what we really need is a trigger to break through that cap. And this is where we could see some pretty wild weather into this afternoon. Now, we do have this low here that's formed on the lee side of the Rockies. This is bringing in some very gusty conditions today through Alberta. Calgary, a high of about 20 degrees and some snow as well. I was looking online at some of the webcams in Sunshine Valley. Yeah, we're definitely seeing the snow. And this here is where snow could accumulate throughout the day today as that low pressure system continues to affect people. So let me transition here. We got snow to the heat warnings. Yeah, the heat warnings. They are still in place for Winnipeg, Kenora, and Pickle Lake. Well, here it is, your Long Ranger with Rachel Schoutsen and Dr. Doug. And Doug, this is interesting because when we look at this temperature map, this is really the opposite than what we started the summer as.
Yeah, the first week of September, we expect to start to see some fall weather. And we are seeing that in the west, but in the east, many areas seeing midsummer heat. Southern Ontario, for example, one of the warmest weeks of the summer. Okay, now when we look at Sunday here, warmest weeks of the summer, look at that, 28 for Toronto, 29 in Montreal. This certainly paints the picture. Yeah, and as we go through late week and the weekend, those cooler temperatures are spreading east, but the heat really does build through the weekend, Southern Ontario to the Maritimes. But in the west, with that transition, a very active pattern, several rounds of rain. By Saturday morning, the rain in southern Manitoba looks like it will have moved into northern Ontario. But another developing storm system brings substantial rain to parts of southern Alberta, especially Saskatchewan, as we progress through the weekend towards Labor Day into Manitoba as well. Many places going to see 25 to 50 millimeters of rain, strong, gusty northerly winds, a classic fall storm, it's not going to feel like the final weekend of summer.
Okay, so BC back to feeling like summer, but then for the prairies for the long weekend, really feeling that fall. But I have to say, for southern Ontario, the jet stream pretty much protecting, and look at that, Toronto at 30.
Yeah, one of the warmest days of the summer, and for the Maritimes, very warm and humid. That front may sag south just enough to interrupt things later on Labor Day. Ottawa, 31 degrees. Many places on southern Ontario will be into the lower 30s. Humidity making it feel like mid to upper 30s.
Okay, so let's take a closer look here. Back to school for kids in Ontario. This is the start.
Well, a muggy day on Tuesday. A front will be pushing to the south, bringing some scattered showers and thunderstorms, but not a washout. And cooler temperatures we go later in the week. Maritimes, also muggy, and temperatures generally above seasonal.
Okay, kids, so this is what you have to look forward to going back to school, but for many people in the east, the long weekend is looking pretty good.